And we're back with another episode of the Pals Podcast. I am your co-host, Danny Galarno.
And I am Ricky Liordi. And Danny, who do we have on today?
We had Nicole Servinis on today, an absolute Canadian broadcasting legend.
Yeah, Nicole's so great. Honestly, like, how we book this is exactly how we do this podcast and why I love it so much. You see somebody, you haven't seen them in a while, you kind of know who they are. I was doing a CP24 segment with DoorDash. She was the host. And we were just chatting. I'm like, I feel like I could talk to you for an hour. And like, I want an hour of your time to hear your story. I think we booked the podcast literally that morning.
Yeah,
just like,
as soon as I saw it come in the inbox, I'm like, I know exactly when you booked it, how you booked it, and just kind of how it happened. And it just made sense. But
and I'm so glad we did it.
Me too. The hour went by so quick. And I could have sat there and talked way longer.
Way longer. And we were talking offline too. Nicole has such a good energy and aura to her. It's like, I want that person on my team. I want that person with me because I feel a lot better knowing she's on my side. And Nicole, I genuinely from the bottom of my heart mean this. Like, you have such a good energy to you. Please never lose that. You are doing great things. And I love everything you're doing, your story and your perseverance and how you've done so many different things while also like staying true to who you are, I think is truly remarkable.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely incredible. And you're absolutely killing it. We can't wait to see what's next. So what do we say, Rick?
Let's frickin' go.
Woo!
Do you know what I love about this? We booked this like so fast random morning.
I knew exactly after you, like, I got in my calendar because it's like you left the
CP24.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. So then I watched it and then I saw it automatically.
I thought you were joking. I'm
not we're not.
Because after we did the hit, okay, full story.
Okay, mic's up. We're going. Yeah.
We're recording. This is
yeah.
Okay,
we go live.
Full story. I'm working on something.
Wait, can you tell us on this or no?
I can't.
Okay. So you're working on something.
I'm working on something, and I was like, Ricky, you'd be a great fit. And then I reached out to you, and I was like, I don't know if you remember me.
Of course
this
I do.
is weird. We'll get into
that
that later.
We're like social media friends kind of thing.
Yeah, and then we so happened I showed up at a shoe. And I was like, oh my God, this is so funny.
Yeah.
She went great. You killed it, by the way.
It was fun.
And then you're like, you should come on my podcast. And I was like, yeah, sure. And, you know, sometimes you like kind of say things and then you regret them. And I thought it was one of those moments. And then it wasn't. And I saw the invite and I was like, oh, this is real. This is happening. I'm like, great.
So do you know, I'd say probably about 50% of our episodes are booked exactly like that.
I love that.
I run into people at a bar or an event or on the street, and I'm like, yo, I haven't seen. Like, what? You're up to this now? Yo, you want to come on a podcast and tell the story?
That's
and
great.
They're like, what am I going to talk about? I'm like, literally this exact conversation. We're just going to extend it for an hour, put mics, get some cameras, and that's it. Like, I think probably half of our episodes
reads though that way, that it's like a genuine, authentic conversation. Like after like looking at all of the things that you guys have done, like I love that. Like it's like. You guys are pals. You become pals with the people who sit in this couch.
She gets it.
She literally to a T.
She gets it. Okay, well, Nicole, now you're one of the pals. So
wow.
Tell us your story.
Already? Yeah. I'm inducted in the pal group? Wow. We haven't even done this.
Tell us your story. How'd you get started in everything that you do? Because I feel like you do a lot of different things too.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't, I think, get into the industry of like television broadcast thinking I'd be doing all the things. I thought it would just be like very streamlined. It didn't turn out that way, of course.
Never does.
Life is like, hell no, that's not happening.
She gave the middle finger if you didn't see it.
And so, good for you for saying that.
Yeah, I gotta
love that. I appreciate that. No, because Joe Rogan, I often find he talks about things, or he'll say, "Oh my gosh," I'll have reactions to things, and then won't actually narrate what people are seeing if they're not actually watching it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
We're still our audience is still bigger on Spotify and Apple than YouTube, combined. So sometimes the listeners who are, their drive to work in the morning, they're not going to catch the middle finger.
As a broadcaster, I appreciate that.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
Going back. Sorry. I digress. This is going to happen often, by the way. So I went to journalism school. I actually went away to school. I was on a scholarship for dance. I grew up dancing since I was like the age of 3, and I got a scholarship to go to Hawaii Pacific University. So I lived in Hawaii. It was the first time away from home at like 18 years old.
That's crazy. I had no idea that was part of the story.
Yeah.
You lived in Hawaii.
I lived in Hawaii. I like walked barefoot and went for a surf before school. Yeah, it was awesome.
We fucked up.
Yeah, no, we really did.
We fucked up with Western and George Brown here.
No, see, I feel like I missed out on that. And I'll say that because being like on a scholarship in school, we were very regimented where like, yes, on the weekends I could go surf and do that. But often I was up at like 4 a.m. and I'd have to work out before practice. And then I'd have dance practice. Then I'd have school, and then after school we'd have to go dance at like volleyball games, basketball games, football games. So it was like a full on schedule that I didn't really feel like I got like the real authentic university experience or college experience.
You're also in Hawaii, so like
I mean,
so let me ask you this. Do you feel that you didn't, or do you feel that you got it even more because you did all the college like things? Like I attended what, a handful of sporting events in my 4 years at Western. You probably same thing. How many sporting events did you attend? Meanwhile, you're attending them all.
Yeah.
So you might have missed out on a couple keggers or whatever, but
yeah.
I feel like you did it.
Yes. Okay. So yes and no, because I didn't stay there for 4 years. So I got my full dose of it. I loved it there. It was just very, how do I say this like nicely? Like very hardcore. It was very much like you are dedicating your entire schooling experience to becoming either a Dallas cheerleader or a choreographer or moving to LA to become a backup dancer, all of that. And that's not something that I had like hopes and dreams of becoming. It was like, I really wanted to pursue like the academic stream. So for me, it was like, I'm putting all this energy and time towards something that like really I'm not gonna like do in my life. So yes, this was a really cool experience, and we were 2-time NCAA champions that year.
Heck yeah, subtle flex.
Subtle. The first in the history of the school. So that was pretty cool.
So wait, let me ask you this. When you win this back-to-back championship, is there no part of you that's like, I want to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader? Because I feel like that's the pinnacle of dance now.
No.
Really?
Honestly, no, because for me,
you didn't want to backup dance for Shakira or like J-Lo or something?
I mean, yes, but like to me, that always seems so like short term.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been in dance for so long, so I knew a lot of girls that were and women who were like older than me and kind of did the whole dance thing where it's a short career that's lived of that you get to travel, be in concerts the whole night, and then afterwards it's like, now what? It's very much of, do you own a dance studio and become a businesswoman, or do you coach, do you train, or do you take up a whole other career that you didn't spend your life doing? And that was always my mindset, is like long term, I don't see myself. I taught when I was young, like I did that throughout school and whatnot. And I was like, I love kids, I love doing this, but like I can't see myself doing this forever. And being happy and like fulfilling that passion, you know?
So I grew up a dancer too.
Okay.
So I get it. But even like a lot of my friends
You
who
didn't
went
get a
to
Scully to Hawaii though.
Oh, stop it.
not even close.
I bet you could have.
But a lot of my friends who went to like the Ryerson dance program here, 90% of them aren't in dance anymore.
Yeah.
And as soon as they stop school, they're in a completely different field.
100%.
And they all said the exact same thing.
Because your body can only take so much. I mean, Danny, like you can speak to this of like, I like now, I think I'm older than you, but I have like hip problems and this and I can't do this. And it's like your body can only do so much for so long, like, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
So
People also don't realize too, there's only a certain amount. Like, it doesn't matter how great you are. Like the amount of actual positions in dance to like succeed and be successful is so hard.
Yeah.
I guess I never really thought about it. Like I'm not obviously not a dancer, but I had a lot of like women friends growing up that were like heavy into dance. And then I feel like either after high school or after university, none of them dance anymore.
Yeah.
Like they'll do like the odd booty class or something.
I haven't danced since
local
Western.
rec center.
Since like the Western dance team have not.
Since
stepped
I
on that-
graduated, same. I've taken maybe like 2 classes, but like I don't dance anymore. Like I'm an active person. I'll go to the gym and whatnot, but I don't
do
dance.
like Zumba classes at all or something?
No, you know what it is? And
During
I don't know if
COVID, you
feel
weren't
like
doing
this.
any of those like digital classes?
I can't go to like a newer class because I'm like too advanced that I would get frustrated of like, this is too easy. But then I can't go to a harder class because I get frustrated with myself being like, you're not good enough. Your leg's not turned out enough.
You can't do what you did before.
I can't do what I did before. So it's like, and then in my mind, I'm like, there's no point. Forget about it, which is the stupidest mentality ever. But that's like how
Makes sense. I
my
get it.
warped brain works. Yeah.
Okay, so we're in Hawaii now.
Okay.
We're leaving Hawaii.
We're leaving Hawaii. Had the best time. It was like, yeah, great memories. It was very hard. I learned so many important lessons. I feel like I grew up kind of sheltered.
Where'd you grow up, by the way?
Richmond Hill.
You went to Vlogs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Where did you go?
I was
PDA?
No. I'm younger. I was at a news studio that you wouldn't have even like been there.
Because I'm so old is what she said.
No.
Buddy, eh?
But you danced with someone who worked at my studio.
Who?
Bianca.
Who? Last name?
Di Domenico.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bianca and I grew up dancing since we were like 3. We went to Jasmine Nimble together.
Yeah.
Like
and
way
then
back.
My
No
best
way.
friend is Becca Sneath.
Oh, yeah. She danced
at
at Vlad's
too. Yeah.
Send them my love.
What a small world.
Yeah. And I actually think I know your cousin too.
Who?
Alexa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peos.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my family.
I went to Carter with her.
Fucking small world.
That's
Look at
so
this.
funny. Small
Look
world.
at this.
Love that. But I feel like the dance community
It's so
is
small.
very much like that. It's like you all you have a few studios, you all compete together, but then one friend knows another, and then you go to the same, like a sister's high school or whatever, and at a party, and it's a very like, I hate to say, I don't mean this in a negative like connotation, but it's kind of culty. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's
like
very
definitely
culty, but it's the
culty.
best thing ever.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Wait,
I
do you
get
know
it.
Andrea Lucchesi? She danced at PDA. She's a 90, so she's 34 now.
Okay, I should know her. I'm 91.
She was really
but
good.
I feel like
You mean
probably-
Alicia?
Pardon?
Alicia Lucchese?
No, Andrea Lucchesi. Like she had trophy rooms at her house from dance.
So she would have been in a different category than me, but I bet you
She
we
was
would have been at the same
contemporary.
competitions for sure.
She was contemporary. Was her shit.
Yeah.
She probably did everything though.
For sure.
That
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, all the big trophies said contemporary. Anyways, my high school girlfriend. And if you're
Look at
listening,
that.
shout out to you.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Leaving Hawaii.
Leaving Hawaii, came back, and I went to Ryerson. Ryerson Metropolitan
Toronto.
Toronto Metropolitan TMU. It's weird for me to say that. I feel like I need a new piece of paper that
good.
says that I went to that
We're
university.
fine. Yeah.
TMU. and I studied journalism. That was also my major in Hawaii, so I was able to transfer many courses.
Did you? Okay.
over.
So when you were a kid, you didn't want to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Did you want to get into journalism? Like, is that something you thought you wanted to do?
I did. So this is gonna sound a little cray, but like when I was in like grade, it would have been 5 or 6, is when 9/11 happened, and I remember I was in like grade 5 or 6, and at the time our teacher was like, you know, something's happening. That's when everybody kind of freaked out, and they were like, is Toronto next? We weren't sure, you know, the CN Tower and whatnot. And I remember the announcement over the PA and my teacher being like, we're all going to the gymnasium. We're asking parents to pick up their kids for safety reasons. And if your parents can't pick you up, we're all going to be together in the gym. So I have an older brother. We're only 2.5, 3 years apart. So we were in the same school at the time. And my mom came to pick us up and brought us home. And we had no idea. Like, they didn't tell us anything. It was just like, something's going on. We're going to wait for your parents to like explain to you what's happening. And so then my mom came to pick us up, and basically like we were in the car and she was explaining, she was like, you know, something really terrible has happened in New York City, and we have relatives in New York. And it's my cousins, like, my grandparents' nieces. And they said like, Armando and Teresa are okay. Like, don't worry. But like something really bad has happened. We're going to turn on the news. And she's trying to softly explain what's going on. And I remember her turning on the TV and like multiple stations that she was like clicking, and it was all the same visual. Like, everybody was showing the visual of the two towers, one and then the other, and the disaster that followed, and people crying, and, you know, interviews, people on the streets running, chaos. And I just remember thinking to myself, and this I hope doesn't sound insensitive, because not only was I like heartbroken for all of the people and devastation that had happened, but I also thought like, this is so wild that the whole world is watching the same thing at the same time in history. Like, this is like a moment that will never be forgotten that we're all witnessing right this second as it's happening. And I like loved history. And so that to me was like, I can't believe that I'm a part of this. And like, I can't believe that, like, it felt like a dream. Like, this is what I read about in books. Like, I can't believe this is happening in real life. And we were crying, watching, you know, and my parents let us watch it. It was like, this is what's happening. Like, it's okay for you to feel upset for these people. And it really was like moving. And I think that like always kind of stuck, like it really stuck with me. And then as I kind of got older, I was very, like I said, interested in like history and English and all of that was very like fascinating to me. And I loved storytelling. And then in school, when they have like the careers class, what are the things you're going to be good at? And, you know, you fill out the form and it was like reporter, journalist is like at the top of the list. I was like, oh, I don't really know what that means. Like, what is that? And then I was really lucky that in school, my particular high school offered a co-op opportunity. So, and that's not typical in many high schools. And one of the co-ops that was offered or that I had looked into was a local TV station. Rogers used to have local TV stations. R.I.P. I'm so sad they don't have it anymore. But that's how old I am. And anyway, it really helped me out because I was able to do that for a semester. So basically I'd go to school for like half a day and then I'd go to the co-op or Rogers TV station the second half of the day. And I worked very closely with a producer who kind of showed me the ropes of, you know, what editing looks like, what a producer, what a director, what a host, all the things. And I was like, this is where I see myself thriving. I was like, it's super creative atmosphere. It's very collaborative, like teamwork. It kind of like incorporated all the things that I loved about like the dance world, but like in a professional setting. And so honestly, in grade 10, I very much was like, this is what I want to do. I'm only pursuing this. And so I went forward and like pursued it hard. So as soon as I could drop science, I was like, not for me. And that's kind of like how I fell into it.
That's a wild story.
Yeah.
Especially because like, again, when you were talking about 9/11, everybody remembers where they were, what they were doing.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it how you thought about it at all. Like the whole world is watching us. For me, I was just like, holy fuck, like I can't believe this actually happened.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I'm sure you felt that same way too.
100%.
But the fact that your career stemmed from that moment and like an interest in that is like wild.
Yeah, it's interesting because actually like even in university, I wanted to be a foreign correspondent. That's actually what I had set out to do, is I wanted to tell these like go to these war-torn countries and like tell stories and like help people. But that's what I quickly learned is like when you go to these places as a reporter, you're not helping people. You are witnessing what's around you, but you can't do anything as a news entity. You are to remain neutral, that you're really not supposed to help people. And then instantly I was like, nope, not for me. I'm like, I would like, cause I consider myself a pretty like empathetic person. And the first thing I would do if I see someone who is suffering in any shape or form would be to help them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you're not allowed to as like a neutral news entity. So I was like, that's not for me. So let's do lifestyle and entertainment. I was like, let's have some fun and talk about nonsense. And that's what I do now.
Man, that's actually, I was expecting when you were telling like the 9/11, I thought you were going to say like, and there was this reporter, Jessica, whatever. And I thought she did a great job and that inspired me. It's like, there was no person. It was like an event that inspired you.
Yeah.
Wow. I was not expecting
Well, it's actually funny. Like you said, even like your love for like history and like all that kind of stuff. My sister right now, she's in high school. She's our little baby. So she's applying to all these university programs and her interest is journalism.
Oh, I love that.
And hearing you speak about it is kind of how almost she does, like her interest for like history, politics, even like the fashion industry and that kind of like, she like loves it all. And that's what's kind of been driving her to kind of pick that career path.
I love that. Well, tell her to give me a call if I can help in any way. I'm here for her because it is a small industry in Toronto specifically.
I can imagine.
Even in Canada, I think I would say that boldly. But anytime.
Have you ever thought about leaving Canada?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that was an easy one.
Uh-huh. All the time.
What holds you back?
This is going to sound bad, but I'm going to be honest. I'm a little too old.
You think so?
Really?
I know so.
Really?
You know what it is? It's I've worked, so I've been in the industry for like 10 years now. And I have worked really hard to like build my connections and my, you know, my life here, that I know, because I've done it before, moving would be like starting anew. And I'm not shaming anybody. Like, I commend anyone that has the courage to be able to pick up and go and do that. But I feel like I'm just at a place in my life where like I'm so happy with where I'm at and what I'm doing, that like my next focus would be like, you know, building like my personal life and like, you know, finding my person and having a family, and I hope I have kids one day, and like that would like delay a lot of that, and I don't want it bad enough in that way to like do that, if that makes sense.
100%.
Like my family and my life in that sense like means more to me, because I feel like I've done almost everything that I've wanted to do. So it's like I think I can still check the things off still being here. If you asked me this 5 years ago, I probably would have said like I'm going to pick up and leave, but it just
priority shift. No, but
yeah.
I'm glad that you said that too, because some people are like, oh, like our careers and this and that. Like, no, you said, hey, I've done what I've wanted to do, or not saying all of it, but you've done to a certain extent what you've wanted to accomplish. Now it's like, hey, I've got some other goals that I might have put on the back burner the last few years that are a little bit more important to me now.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, I'm the same way too. Like a lot of times we prioritize the things that are important to us at that moment. And the moment for me right now is different than the moment for me 5 years ago. And it's different from the moment in 5 years from now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like everybody's story is a different road and it's a different path, and there's no right or wrong answer for anybody. You know, like you talk about meeting your person, having a family. Some people meet their person when they're 20 years old and have a family at 21, and great, kudos to you. Some people put it on hold and meet their person when they're 40. Some people's careers take off when they're 25. Some people's careers don't take off till they're 50. Right. It's completely different. Everyone's timeline is unique to them and to themselves, and it's important to understand that, because when you compare yourself to others, or you compare your career or your family, your personal goals, whatever it is, to others, like nothing good ever happens from that.
It's hard. And I mean, we live in like a world where that's all people do, right? Like I feel like it's hard. Like all we do is go on social media and compare ourselves, and there's so much pressure, and like I don't know. I really have to consciously like tell myself like, you're on a different path, Nicole. It's okay. You're like,
you'll never see anyone on the same path. Like whether someone's married, they may have not been as accomplished as you are in your career, or vice versa. Kind of no one's aspect's always the same. At every single stage.
But you know what I say? Like we compare ourselves to others, and now, especially with social media, there's other creators, and like I talk about my creator life. There's other creators that are doing exactly what I do. You know, they talk about dating and love, and they're, you know, cheeky content, whatever. They do their topless thirst traps, and I do all that shit too. But half these guys are like 10 years younger than me.
Throwing the topless.
Shakes her head. Rolls her eyes, shakes her head.
These guys are like literally like 5-10 years younger than me, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? But then I'm like, when I was that age, social media wasn't even a fucking thing.
I know.
When I was 25, it's like Instagram didn't exist. Do you think,
like, imagine we were like 10 years ago, what we knew now, like, or what we have access to now. And when people ever ask me, like, you know, even in like getting into this industry, I say, I'm like, you are so lucky you have a phone. I never had a phone that I could take video on that wasn't like distorted. It was on like a flip phone when we had to like shoot things. Like I couldn't do that in school. You can take your iPhone out and you can shoot any sort of news story or like make any sort of show at your fingertips. Like you were so lucky like to have that access. So yeah, it's like pros and cons with everything in life
It is. It's a different time now, obviously.
Yeah.
Like I'm very thankful I grew up in the era that I grew up in, because I would have gotten a lot more trouble if phones were around when I was young. Like, I got way too many movies out there floating around the internet. Thank God they're probably pixelated. You can't see shit. But
that's so
you know what I mean?
funny.
Like, I'm very grateful that we grew up in the time we did.
A little bit more sheltered, and you know,
again, we grew up in the .com bubble and the social media bubble and all those things. So I'm very grateful. But for your industry specifically, like, what show is it where there's two girls from their two roommates in New York that started a news show? Oh man, I can't even. They started during COVID just because they were bored. They were reporting the news from their condo. They have a podcast, And it's like 30-minute episodes every single day, and like they blew up during COVID.
Brilliant.
And like think about how easy that was. Like 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing.
No.
It's not a possibility.
It wasn't possible. It was like you have to take meetings and you have to sell yourself super hard and get in with certain people.
Just trying to find out certain information. Like think about how hard that is. Now you need information.
Even
You open up TikTok and type it in.
You can research things so easily. Like we had to go to the library, and like I know I'm like sounding so ancient right now.
Okay, but like there was traffic on the Gardner today, and he was ahead of me, and I texted him like, "Hey, like what's going on?" He's like, "Google it." I was driving. I'm not gonna sit there and start Googling everything.
You can text me.
I'm stressed.
You can order food. You can order food. You can text me. You can post a podcast clip. But you cannot.
I was parked
Google.
at that point.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just wanted to know, like, did you
2 hands? Not
did you
one.
see? I was like, did you see an accident? He's like, I don't know. Google it. I put on the radio today. 680 News. Could not tell you the last time I listened to 680 News, but I was like, you know what? This is great.
I
found
love
out
that.
everything in 30 seconds.
Oh, gee, there you go. Love that. When in doubt, it always works.
Always works.
Yeah, that's where you go back to.
This is a question we usually ask later on in the episode, but I feel like it's very fitting now. If you could sit down and talk to, 15-year-old Nicole, what would you tell her?
I would tell her. I would tell her so many things.
You know
you mean
trend,
like work-wise or like
that
life
trend that's going? Yeah, both. But you know that trend that's
advisor.
going on TikTok right now? It's like I met my younger self for coffee. What would yours say?
I would say hold true to your values. Like never sway away from how you were raised, because it's very tempting to turn the other way, get into bad things, or like. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people kind of like are willing to sell their soul, so to speak, to get to a certain point. And I like credit myself on not doing things like that and really like sticking true to my roots and who I am. And I credit my mom and dad because they've raised me to be that kind of person. And like what I would say is like, you may feel like, sad that you're not with the in crowd, or like you're maybe being shunned or look at it a certain way, but really it's going to get you further in life and you're going to be more respected for it. Like don't feel badly about sticking to things like that. It might take a little bit longer for you to get to where you are, but it's like worth it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It is tough, especially when we're younger. I hate saying you want to take the easy route out. You want to get there as quick as possible, but it's like the older you get, the more you realize that like, nothing in life that's worth having comes easy, and nothing that comes easy is worth having.
100%.
Like when you're a kid, you can't get there fast enough.
Exactly.
You're just like, I need to get there.
Exactly.
Like, I need to make X amount of dollars. I need to do this and that. Like, and I actually had a conversation.
You're chasing so hard.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with a good friend of mine. And like we always, I don't know if women do the same, but men, we always talk about money. How you want to make X amount of dollars. You want to get that in your career and whatever.
We do too.
And and like with one of my friends recently, we were talking about it, and I'm like, I actually don't want to make more money. If I could work less and make the same, I think that's my goal now. How do I work less and have more free time and make the same that I'm making right now? Because I'm truly content with the amount of money I'm making right now. I don't need more.
Yeah.
I want more free time. I want to travel more. I want to spend more time in warm weather climates, on beaches, surrounded by palm trees and sun and sand and waves and fucking seagulls squawking at me trying to eat my food and shit. That's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want right now. And the older I get, the more I realize. When I was younger, I'm like, I need to make X amount of dollars because that's what success looks like. I was like, fuck that. Success is fucking walking a beach at 1 p.m. on a fucking Wednesday. To me. That's success.
Totally.
So,
and that's why they say, like, don't just look at the destination. It's like enjoy the journey and the ride along the way, because you miss so many things when you do that. And it sounds so cliche, but like the older I get, and I mean, like I just celebrated a birthday, the more often
Happy birthday.
Thanks. I like think back and like think like, oh, like I wish I enjoyed this a little bit more. I wish I sat in this more. And like, whether that's like being proud of myself or happy or even sad, and like relishing in the sadness, and not like I give myself like a rule. It's like, you have 1 week to cry about a breakup, and then you put your big girl pants on and you get up and you go in life, and that's it. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, give yourself the time to feel the feels, do the things, and really sit in that and enjoy that, because you'll never be in that place ever again. And very much like the older I get, the more I think like that, and I give myself a little bit more grace in that.
Do you celebrate your wins, and how do you celebrate your wins?
Usually with drinks.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
No, I try to. I'm really hard on myself. I'm like,
really, you don't strike me as someone that'd be hard on themselves.
Thanks.
You seem like full of energy and like someone that could, hey, fucked up. Okay, cool. Let's on to the next one. My bad.
Yeah, I do. I do have that mentality. Don't get me wrong, but like behind closed doors and when I go to bed at night, I constantly think to myself like, that wasn't perfect. That wasn't good enough. That person did that and you didn't do that, or you didn't get there. How do you get there? Like, it's this constant feeling of not feeling good enough. And I think I've felt like that honestly like my whole life, and especially like I think I kind of started not from my parents, which is interesting because when you go back into like psychologically, you would think like the wisdom's from the parents, but like no, my parents were great in that sense, and like the biggest cheerleaders and supporters in my life. That really like where that stems from is like sport for me, where like in dance it was very much that way. Perfection.
It's always comparing yourself to others too, every day.
Always. And then also I like was a competitive figure skater as well when I was young, so it was like, yeah, it's just the nature of like the competitive sport and art that I was a part of. And I think I adopted a bit of a toxic mentality, and like it's kind of stayed with me. But at the same time, I credit that to like pushing I've always been a very self-motivated person, where like that has made me better and always work super hard because I'm the hardest on myself. But it can also be like debilitative and like very hard and exhausting to kind of be in your own head all the time. So
somebody once told me something. It was treat yourself as you would treat the person you love the most in the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm not hard on myself at all. Like I'm easier on myself than anybody else. If I scrub my eye, fuck it, whatever, man. Tomorrow we ride again, and I'm hard on everybody else, and I'm easy on myself. But somebody said that to me, and it stuck with me so much because majority of people are so fucking hard on themselves. Mm-hmm. You make a mistake and you beat yourself up and you take it with you to bed and you let it ruin your day and you let it affect your things. Meanwhile, somebody else fucks up and you're so easy to let somebody go and so easy to forgive them. It's just like, whoa, when the fuck did that shift happen? Yeah. When did we start loving others more than we love ourselves? And like I'm like, my whole brand is on like, love yourself. Like respectfully, fuck everybody else. Take care of yourself and everybody else around you will benefit. And I firmly believe that. But like when she said that to me, it was I was like, fuck, I never even thought about it like that. But yeah, like, and I've told so many people that line since that woman told me this, because it's so fucking true. Like if you're like we don't have many young listeners like under 20, but fuck, like 20 or under, like the teenagers these days, they're so fucking tough on themselves. I'm like, is your sister tough on herself? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? It's like you're a fucking.
I think it's like the same thing. I don't know about, again, I grew up in a family of just girls, and I was also dancing my whole life. So again, surrounded by girls 24/7. But they're going through the same shit we did. Yeah. And it's the same shit.
But like, I feel like the young generation now today, especially because of social media and comparing yourself on cell phones, like, holy fuck. Like you see those videos and those TikToks, like this is what, high school looked like 20 years ago compared to now. I'm like, you see, like sometimes, like I still have my age restriction blocked on Instagram. So like, I don't see like kids on my Instagram, but sometimes I'll see one. I'm like, that's what an 18-year-old looks like these days. Like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, but I think it's when everyone's going around the same. Like, imagine like when I was in high school, it's like we just got to wear mascara. Yeah. And out of everything, like I also had makeup from dance. So like, I wore makeup more than like all my other friends in certain places because I had access to it. Yeah. But nowadays, everyone's doing it at the exact same age. So you're growing up in the same timeline. I guess we were growing up and kind of learning those same things. They're just going at a faster pace. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm explaining that properly. I get what you're saying, yeah. It's just like if you put,
and it's because of access. It's because it's all over YouTube. It's all over social media. It's like they have the access where like for us, the only way we had access was through dance because of what we did. Where it's like, for us, we like, we wouldn't have it. It would be like an awkward conversation with my mom being like, can you take me to buy eyeliner to Shoppers Drug Mart?
Well, it's like now it's like,
Sephora didn't exist. Like that wasn't
8-year-olds are getting skincare routines.
That's wild.
Which like, I had a makeup wipe. I still have a makeup wipe. Like, I'm like awful. But like these 8-year-olds are on YouTube with like millions of followers. It's just more accessible now.
It is fucking wild.
Yeah.
It is wild. Okay, so wait. take us from when you came back from Hawaii, you went to TMU or Ryerson, whatever, to where you are now. What's been like the biggest shift in your career? How'd you get there? What's been like the big milestone that led you to where you are now? Like, I guess take us in that gap, because like obviously there's a couple years between there where I'm assuming your career, big things and good things happened in your career to get you here.
Yeah, for sure. So in between TMU, I love my parents, but I went away again and I went to Australia.
Fucking right. Yes. Here's the answers I'm looking for. Australia. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. You're like beach sand. Me too. Trust me. I speak your language exactly.
Go.
I was like, I love my parents. I'm gonna go further away this time. So I went to Australia for about just under a year, and I like finished my studies there, then came back and did like an internship here. And my internship, that's at that point I kind of was like, okay, I really want to do like lifestyle entertainment news. I knew I wanted to do TV, because at that point in university with the program, you kind of explore like radio, newspaper, feature writing, all of that. So you get exposed to everything, but I really love television, and because the production element to it all. And so I told my prof at the time, I said, like, I really would love to be at Entertainment Tonight Canada. Again, RIP. So sad.
I know, it is sad.
But it's so sad. It breaks my heart. What a loss. And I loved, like, I looked up to Cheryl Hickey my entire life. And so you're getting at people. This is where I was like, okay, like, she's who I want to be.
Cheryl Hickey,
you know?
fucking legend.
She is a legend. And the nicest human of all.
Heard that from many people too.
Yeah.
Cheryl Hickey, legend.
And so and my prof looked at me and was like, "You're delusional. You're never gonna get that." She's
really?
Like, literally, she said to me, "Don't even bother applying."
Shut up.
She's like, "They don't hire people. You're never gonna get chosen. You're never gonna get a job afterwards. Aim low." It's like what her professor advice was for me. I said her. And
I would fucking lose it.
Fired right now.
Fuck you.
Now I say that, but at the time I was a vulnerable student, you know, really searching to like find my mark and feel good enough, as we have discussed.
Fuck, man.
And I remember saying this to my mom, and my mom said the same thing. She's like,
fuck that.
She's like, absolutely not, Nicole. Go for it. She's like, apply, do it. Doesn't matter if they say no, but like apply. So I applied. I got the interview and I got the job. So I got the internship, and then after, right? That's how I felt.
Middle finger to you.
That's how I felt. And then after the internship, I was at like a bit of a crossroads of like, now what do I do? Because they didn't have any openings. It's not like they were like, they don't like they have interns cyclically. Like, they come in for 4 months, they leave. They come in, they come out. Like, it's a cycle there. It was a well-oiled machine that they had going on with different schools. And I like showed up every day, like an hour before. I stayed hours later. I volunteered on everything. I like sacrificed so much. And I remember like as soon as that had ended, I was called back for like small gigs here and there. And I say gigs, it still wasn't paid. So gigs in quotation marks. And it was like, oh, great. I could be another body on set. Fantastic. As like a production assistant. And I'll never forget, I was dating a guy at the time, and it was New Year's, and I got an offer from work from ET. They're like, listen, they at the time they did like an annual Fallsview big like concert outing, and they would have all like the biggest stars out there perform. They would sell tickets. It was like a whole production, and ET Canada would have their hosts there live, and they would, you know, it's kind of like
ball drop.
I was just gonna say the NYC ball drop is exactly what it was in Niagara. And so they're like, Nicole, we'd love to have you manage talent. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, for sure. It was like Demi Lovato, Nick Jonas, and Keith Urban who were performing.
Okay.
And I was in charge of Demi Lovato at the time, where they were like, no drinks in her room. I was like, okay. Yeah. But backtrack a little bit. So when they offered this to me at the time, I was in a relationship. We were together for like, I want to say like 3 years. And I had said to him, we had booked a trip. Things were not going well in the relationship. I was dedicating a lot of time to work. he wasn't cool with that. He was going through his own personal things. And I had said, like, listen, I got this. So we booked a trip to repair the relationship, because when you're in your early 20s, you think a sun and beach will repair the relationship.
It does.
It does not.
Palm trees, beach, waves.
And so I was like, so we booked the trip, and then I had gotten this offer like literally maybe like a week or two later, and I immediately, I didn't even like think, I said yes. And then I was like, oh, I need to tell him. And so I went back and I was like, listen, I got this opportunity. I have
You
to.
probably said it with this big ass smile on your face too, eh? This
I
poor
have
dude.
to say yes. Like, it's like a big deal. I think this is like pivotal. Like, I feel like they're on the cusp of hiring me. I think if I can like prove myself that I'm like dependable, this is like a really big job, that like they'll hire me afterwards. So like, do you mind if like either we delay this trip, or like I'll pay to change my name on the ticket, and like you go with one of your buddies and we can go afterwards. Like, no problem. I'll pay like for the penalty. And
as your relationship's hanging on by a thread.
Right?
Yeah, but if like,
Hey, wait, hold on. Let's see.
subconsciously, like
Fuck
you knew
no.
it wasn't gonna work out.
No, in my mind, it was like, if he really loves me, he would want me to be happy.
Yeah.
And he knows that this is, I've been working so hard for this, that if he doesn't want this for me, then he's not the right person. So that was like the test and the kind of like mentality that I had behind the discussion of like, if he doesn't get this, then like easy bye, boy bye. So that's what happened. So the decision that I couldn't make, he made for me, and he like freaked out and like lost his freaking mind. And I was just like, okay, done. That's fine. I'm going. Bye. So I went, we did the whole night. It was an amazing night. I was like awake for like 24 hours on my feet. I was exhausted, but it was so cool. I love the experience that I got. And that night he had sent me flowers to the hotel that I was staying at to apologize and like ask for me back and the whole nine. And literally,
I kind of like this guy. I kind of like this guy here.
Literally a week later, I got hired by ET Canada for a full-time position. And I think a week after that, we officially broke up.
I thought the story was going to go somewhere good.
No, it doesn't. No.
Well, okay, well, you got
It was
hired.
good.
So
She got hired on.
It was a good story for you. Tough luck
She
for
knew
the guy.
you had that gut feeling in you to take this, and it worked out.
And it's crazy because, and I remember my mom saying this, it was very sweet. She was like, I'm so proud of you for making that decision, because I think most girls like would just say no because you had committed to that, and like, you know, and she's like, I'm really proud of you. That's like really hard. And I'm like, I feel like I did the wrong thing. She's like, no, you didn't. And it's interesting because I really did love him. I really like, at that time, I really thought he was like my person, honest to God. But I like I said, like I interpreted it as like, you know, my heart, of how much and how hard and so many sacrifices that I've made, that if you don't like want the best for me, that's not like a healthy kind of love. Because I think you can love someone and be so obsessed with someone and like think that they're your person, but not really understand like their heart and core, where like you don't want the best for them. And to me, like that's the difference between like infatuation and like deep, real love, you know, and wanting like what's best for that person. Because sometimes it doesn't mean it's good for you, but it's better for that person.
100%. Let me ask you this. If you're in that exact situation right now, you're dating somebody right now.
Yeah.
And
I am, for the record.
okay, you are.
I just
Okay.
wanna say that.
So you're with somebody, you're really happy. You think this is the person, and same situation. Are
Yeah.
you taking the job or are you going on the trip?
I would take the job.
Okay.
Honestly. And I've had those conversations with him often, and I like, I'm very transparent and pretty like open book, honest person. And I ask him, or I have asked him, is like, if I got offered a job in the States, like what would you do? And I just leave it open. Like I would never pressure anyone to do anything, because I never want anyone to do anything they don't genuinely want to do. And I've said like, you know, what would you do? And his remark is like, I'll move there. I'll find a new job.
Oh,
or
fucking right. We like this guy too now.
Or,
We like this guy way more.
we do long distance and we see what happens. It's like a solution-based response. And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for the answer of I'm going to drop everything for you and, and do anything that you want. Because I don't want that either.
Well,
like, I want someone who has a
yeah.
backbone and, like, their own thing going on. I don't want you to roll over. But at the same time, I want to know that you're, like, solution-based, that you love me, that you care for me, and that, like, we're going to figure this out as a team, because that's what it's about. Yeah.
We'll figure it out as a bit.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say, it's funny how, like, we can change, but, like, our goals can still stay the same. And even, with your new partner, asking that kind of rhetorical or that metaphorical question, if you got a job, and hearing their answers and hearing how they would respond to some of your wants and your needs. But you said something earlier or like 2 seconds ago, you don't want someone who's going to do something that they don't want to. What if they do it for you, but they don't want to do it because they love you? Let's say this guy doesn't want to move to the States, but he's willing to do it because he loves you. What then? Or how would that make you feel?
Terrible. I have always said, and I mean, again, like, this is full transparency. We live in two different places right now. Not too far, an hour away, but, like,
it's fucking nothing.
What we often say, but it is, though, if, like, there's traffic, living in the city of Toronto, it's like everything takes longer. It's not like you can just, like, pop by and be like,
fucking Tuesday.
Babe, it's like everything is like a planned event. Yeah. Okay. And in saying that, his family is there, my family is here, and it's like we often think, like, hey, where's our home base going to be? And he's so amazing in saying, like, we're going to figure it out. We love each other. We're going to make it work. And in one sense, that makes me panic because I'm like, is love enough? I don't know. But also, like, I always say to him, because he says, like, like, I'll find a new job or I'll get something else or whatever. If it doesn't work, if it becomes too much of going back and forth, I'll pivot. And I, like, say to him, like, no, I never want you to do that. It would kill me inside knowing how upset you are in what you do. Like, I want you to love what you do as much as I do. And if, like, again, like, and that's where I think, like, compromise is so challenging and difficult in, like, the older that you get, because life becomes more complex. But it's like, I don't want you to think that my happiness means more than your happiness. Does that make sense? Like, it's like there's not one over the other. It's equally as important. And you need to make sure that that's very clear before you make a decision, because resentment is a real thing. And when that builds up, you start looking at the person very differently, and then it becomes, like, very quickly a very toxic relationship where you start holding things against the person, and that's never healthy either, because it's always there. It's really hard to get rid of that. So, like you said, like, I think all of those questions need to be asked and addressed prior, because you really want to make sure that both parties understand, the pros and cons to the sacrifices that you're, like, making as a couple.
100%. Because I got a lot of things to say, but I want you to go. No, because I cut you off earlier.
That's fine.
So I have a completely different opinion than yours.
Hit me.
I believe if somebody does something that they don't want to do for you, if someone does something that they don't want to do and they do it because they know you want it, or you, like, to me, that's my fucking love language.
What?
Like,
that's toxic.
If you hate running,
am I wrong, Danny?
Wait.
That's bad.
So one of my exes hated running. I don't like running, but I run. We ran a 10K together, or, like, we kind of walked it, jogged it, whatever. Yeah. And I know she didn't like it. We woke up early, and I know she didn't like it, but she did it because she knew how much I wanted to do it. To me, that's literally my love language. I love that shit. If you don't like hockey or football and you want to come watch
these
football,
are, like, hobbies. It's different than, like, life. Like,
well, no, but it's still like,
I don't like eating chicken, but I'm gonna eat chicken because you eat chicken.
I don't see myself living in Toronto long term. I see myself spending majority of my time split between, Florida, Toronto, and maybe, like, somewhere in Europe for a couple months a year. I don't see myself being in this city, I'll have, like, a home base here, but I won't be here all the time.
Yeah, so that's a specific kind of woman who's going to be able to do that.
But let's say she doesn't. Let's say she's like, I kind of like Toronto, but, I'm willing to do that because that's what you want. Oh, fuck. Like, That's my love. Literally, I think that's literally my love language.
Okay, I just think,
Hey, I don't want that, but I'm willing to do it for you. It's like, fuck yeah,
no, but
that's
I
my
think
love
there's
language.
two sides, because at the end of the day, someone made a choice to do something.
Right.
That's person's choice to be like, hey, I'm leaving this and I'm gonna do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But again, like the big conversations you want to have, it's all about compromise, because if you're at the end of the day and you're not having these conversations, a big one people don't have is, I want kids, you don't want kids.
Yeah, that's another big one. Yeah.
Someone
they
has
think
to
like someone's gonna change them.
my friend went through the situation. They were
Yeah,
dating for
that's hard.
4 years. He still didn't change his mind on wanting to get married and wanting to have kids. So they made the mutual decision, like, you know what? We're like 30 this year, like we're breaking up. There's like, what are we gonna do? Keep dating?
Yeah, no,
she was hoping he was gonna change his mind. He has not changed his mind in 4 years.
That's
and
sad.
he never changed his thing. But again, that's something he really held strong.
Yeah.
She really held strong, so it wasn't gonna work out. So I guess there's
On the flip
two-
side of that too, though, I do know a couple very close to me that were always no kids. They've been dating since we were like 20. Always no kids. They might be having kids.
Wow.
15 years later.
Yeah, but sometimes like I feel
Sometimes
like
it
life
fucking happens, right? Sometimes it
yeah,
happens.
but life can change that. But
Yeah.
it's such a hard question, I think, to answer.
But I think you just said early 20s that they met. And how long have your friends been together?
Since they're not together anymore, but they started dating, I guess, in 2020.
Okay. So
2021.
Okay, so different.
yeah, different.
Because I think when you
26?
grow with someone,
it's different.
then
yeah.
you're,
I
you
agree.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Where like if you meet someone later in life, you're more hold true to like what you want.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
like
yeah.
that changes.
Oh, he said the same thing since he was 16. There was no changing his
there
mind.
you go.
Yeah.
You
that's
know,
fair.
it makes things a little bit harder.
My second thing I wanted to ask.
but that's really funny that you say that.
my literal love language is like, hey, I don't like this, but I'm willing. I'll do it for you.
Wow.
Like and
Sacrifice.
Wait,
You
roles
wanna go to
reversed.
sacrifice
Roles
for you.
reversed. I would do the same. I would never want from someone. I would never want something from someone that I'm not willing to do for them in return.
Okay, well then what if roles were reversed where she was like, okay, you love this woman. I'm going to throw it back at you. And she was like, I cannot leave Toronto. I have the greatest job. My whole family's here. I can never leave. But this is the
That's not
love.
that's not my person.
wait,
but if it was,
But this is
if
the
it
love
was,
of your life. And you wanted to leave
I would
and do all
fucking
the
it.
things.
I
What would you say?
I'd say.
Oh,
I'd
there you
stay.
go. Okay.
Really?
I would stay. Well, here's a good example. I
already know what you're
I
gonna
probably
say.
shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. So my ex was an OnlyFans model. And I always said I would never date an OnlyFans model. Always
Yeah.
said it from the beginning.
You know, they say never say never.
Right? I met her, fell in love with her. I was like, well, it's fine. Who cares?
Yeah.
I didn't care at all. Like after I always said because like the mentality behind it, like I thought it was a lot worse than what it was. And then I saw it. I'm like, oh, this isn't bad at all. And I'm like, okay, like just the rep behind it was bad. And I'm like, wait a second. I love this person. I don't give a fuck what they do. Like, I don't think it's cheating either. I post topless pictures. Oh, okay, she didn't post topless pictures. But she's posting like, lingerie and bikini shit. Like whatever, no nudes. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But the mentality originally, like a different part of me, if you would have said, would you date an OnlyFans? I would have said no, never.
Yeah.
Then I met this person. She was amazing. We dated. Okay, it didn't work out for other reasons, but the OnlyFans thing had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an area where I compromise. And I always said I would never do long distance. I did long distance when I was younger, and I broke a poor girl's heart for no fucking reason because of long distance. And I always said I would never do it ever again. Met this fucking person, other side of the world. Fucking right. Let's do long distance. No problem. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No problem. Didn't work, obviously, but
Yeah, but now I feel like you'd even do long distance.
I'm even more pro long distance now than I was
because you
before.
want to get out of here. That's why.
Well, so not even that. Also, this wasn't my actual question. I have another question after. But the reason why I'm pro long distance now is because I love being busy and I love my busy life right now.
Yeah.
That I can be busy.
It allows you to
Monday to Thursday. I can do whatever I
Yeah.
want. Like I see you Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll put my life on hold and I will come to you every fucking other weekend.
Totally.
And I will do all
you
that
just
stuff.
become more present when you have that.
Yeah.
You
Like I was
appreciate the
never on
time
my
that you're
phone.
with
When I
the
was with her,
person
I was
more.
never on my phone.
No.
Like we would say, hey, like I'm like, hey, can we take 30 minutes so I can like check emails? Because
Yeah.
I haven't been on my phone in 24 hours. Like,
Yeah.
do you mind? My question was, you said something about intuition, or maybe you didn't, and I just thought about it. To both you ladies, do you think women have better intuition than men do? Oh, sorry, because you were referring to the question about when you go to ask him, if he says no, then you'll know that he's not the one or whatever. Do you think women, because I had this conversation with a woman the other day, do you think women have better intuition than men do when it comes to relationships? Both of you.
Danny, you go first.
She's going to pass it back to you.
Yeah, I'm literally going to pass it back to you. It didn't even.
Danny, no, you go first, Danny.
No, I honestly wasn't registering the question.
Do you think...
I just kept thinking of another question that I wanted to ask her.
Do you think women have better intuition than men when it comes to relationships?
No.
No? Wow, okay.
I think women can get really lost very easily in certain situations.
I'm with you.
And lose themselves in it until myself, my friends can get lost up and caught up in certain situations because in the moment it could be okay, or you convince yourself it's okay. And it kind of makes it almost takes a breaking point or something bad to happen to pull you out of it.
Wow, I was not expecting that, Danielle. Nicole, what do you think?
I would agree 100%.
Wow.
And I think in the last year, honestly, I've learned that more than anything is to like trust your intuition. And it's really hard because I think there's so many other things that you like do to cover that voice. So
you make excuses.
Yeah. And it's really hard to do that. It's really hard.
This is like just one example, but I feel like, let's say guys in a relationship, when they know it's not going to work out, they'll subconsciously like cheat or do something to pull themselves out of the situation.
Yeah.
Whereas like women will do anything to cover it up to make sure it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting that, ladies. I was expecting you guys to say women have better intuition than men.
I was something so off topic, but just because you're in broadcasting.
Well, we are nearing that
yeah.
point.
Well, just you're in broadcasting. Ricky was
topic.
on a podcast in New York the other week, and you just said women 10 times in a row. Have you ever like a difference between women and female saying this? Like, does that, how am I?
So if you use the word female to describe
a woman,
so if you say, oh, she's a female as opposed to she's a woman.
Interesting.
Do you find that as a negative connotation?
I don't take that personally, but I can understand how someone might, because many people associate like femininity with like it's something that you can adopt, because I believe men and women both have masculine energy and feminine energy. Like you can be like, you're like two-spirited. Like I always say, like in a relationship, I typically am like masculine energy, but I like to be in my feminine energy. But like the masculine energy is like what part of me comes forward naturally, but I'm trying in this era that I'm in to be more in my feminine energy and take a step back. So like what I say is like, I don't take that personally, but I understand how someone maybe can interpret that differently, you know, like, and being more inclusive and things like that. But that's, I don't really think
I'd never heard that before too.
No, I was just wondering if you ever heard it, maybe kind of on air kind of thing. People steering you not to say it, just because I've never heard that before.
Heard that
I just never
thought of
language. Everything is very
general
general and like overview, you know, all encompassing language, so that everyone feels included. No one is offended.
How's that changed since the start of your career?
Oh my God.
Like having to adapt, because that's like crazy.
Yeah. Night and day. This is exactly why I don't do politics or anything hard hitting, because I don't want to be involved in anything like that, because my heart, like I never want to offend anyone. And I think like I'm so willing to have open conversations about like how I can learn or address something better in a more educated way. But people make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And in saying that, like cancel culture is a real thing. I have seen it so much, and it is terrifying that like, yeah, some people probably deserve to be canceled.
The
honestly.
fucking Diddy's and the R. Kellys. Yeah, let's fucking get them.
But there are also some people that I think have had a bit of a harder go than they needed to, where it was like, let this be more of a teachable moment instead of a cancel moment. Like,
and then you got
people make mistakes. It's okay. And I think it's like, if their intention is to not hurt someone, then like you can't get mad at someone for saying something. You know what I'm saying?
If they intentionally did it, then
fine.
But mind you, cancel culture is also, everybody wants to cancel someone until it's the person they love the most.
Of course.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I hate using it. Chris Brown is the best example.
Yeah, you can't talk about him with me because I love Rihanna, and like, this is not going to go over well.
No, I'm on your side. I'm on your side. Chris Brown should have been canceled.
I'm just saying.
Should have been canceled.
Was he not?
For like 2 seconds.
I think that guy ruined his life. I was literally just saying this yesterday.
He tours. He sells out like arenas.
People hate him.
That's not what I see.
He's not respected. He has fans, because he's sexy. He's talented. He's a really good dancer. He can move. But by his peers, I can guarantee you people respect him, look down at him for what he has done.
So I actually saw on social media this year, especially around the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is very 50-50. A lot of people on social media were like saying like he would be the great next halftime show.
Oh my God, I would lose my shit. If that happens, I will throw a petition. That guy deserves to be in the dirt.
Okay, but who's paying for the halftime show right now?
Who?
Rock Nation, which is owned by Jay-Z, which is part of all these.
Who is part of the problem?
So like everything is connected. Everything
all
is
of this behavior, Danny. No.
Okay.
As I'm saying, everything right now is already connected.
Get too political, because I'm on this side too. I'm very, even for my socials.
I never said it was my opinion. I'm saying what you notice on social media.
We're opening up a can of worms. I'm very, even me, I'm very like, I don't talk politics. I did a deal, a brand deal with Starbucks. I'm like, who fucking doesn't drink Starbucks? Everybody drinks Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Everybody loves Starbucks. Everybody drinks it. It is the biggest coffee brand in the world.
What's your order at Starbucks?
The shaken oat milk brown sugar cortado.
Oh,
wow. This is the news from the brand deal I did. I fucking love it. Or the pistachio lattes now.
Me?
Do you have an order?
Yeah. I get a venti shaken espresso, no classic, 1 pump of sugar-free vanilla, extra ice, and a splash of almond milk. Like a splash.
I love hearing Starbucks orders. They're the best. I have one similar. I'm not chirping. I'm saying this.
I'm judging. This is me judging right now.
I laugh because I have one
What's
as well.
yours?
It's a grande Americano misto with 1 Splenda and almond milk. So.
Oh, but yeah, it didn't have the extra ice.
That's because I
the
don't
extra
like a lot
ice
of
is
almond
fucking
milk.
ridiculous.
No, it's because it's literally 4 shots of espresso shaken.
That's a lot of caffeine.
Espresso actually has less than an actual cup of coffee.
Really?
Yeah. It's just stronger tasting. So I
No
like this. I
way.
like the taste, but I don't like. But anyways, it's just 4 shots of espresso shaken. But if you don't say they put too much almond milk, and I literally like a splash. That's why I say extra ice.
Okay. No.
No judgment.
Yeah,
it sounds delicious.
No, tons of judgment. Actually.
So good.
Before we wrap up, Nicole, what's the rest of the year look like for you? Anything exciting on the go, other than this thing we kind of briefly mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah, the thing at the beginning for sure. I hope to do some more traveling this year. That's always like exciting for me, and education and whatnot, exploring the world. And I hope to just continue what I'm doing, and enjoy time with family and friends, and live my best life.
We love that. We love that.
That's it.
Danielle, anything else before we wrap up?
I think that's it.
Well, Nicole, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for being
for
one of the
having
This
panelists.
went by so quickly.
Yeah, honestly, it did.
Yeah.
I checked my watch and I was like, fuck, I think we're near 45. And I'm like, I felt like 15 minutes. If people want to find out more about you, what you're doing, everything, where can they go? How can they find you?
Social media, I call it. It's social media. It's at Nicole Servinis. That's it.
Perfect. Guys, give Nicole a follow, give Danielle a follow, give myself a follow. And if you made it to the end, we appreciate you. Like, subscribe, all those fun things. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.